Take out a piece of money and really look at it. A slip of paper, a disc of metal, or just a number glowing on a screen. In itself, it is worth almost nothing. You cannot eat it. It will not keep you warm. And yet you can trade it for food, for a home, for a year of another human being's life. Why? Why does everyone, everywhere, agree that this worthless thing is worth something? Who decided? Who invented money? You probably think you already know the story. Most of us were taught the same one. Once upon a time, before money, people bartered. You had a chicken, you wanted shoes, so you found the shoemaker and traded, and it worked until it didn't. Because what if the shoemaker didn't want your chicken? You would have to run around the village trading the chicken for something he did want, just to get your shoes. Economists gave this problem a name: the double coincidence of wants. And so, the story goes, some clever people invented money. A single thing everyone would accept, so nobody had to hunt for a match ever again. It is a beautiful story. Adam Smith told a version of it in 1776. There is only one problem with it. It is almost certainly not true. Because when anthropologists went looking for these barter societies, the ones where people swapped chickens for shoes before money existed, they could not find a single one. Not one. A researcher named Caroline Humphrey put it bluntly. No example of a barter economy, pure and simple, has ever been described. Money did not come after barter. Barter, as a way of life, may never have existed at all. So if it wasn't barter, what was actually there first? The answer is something far more human. Trust. Think about how a small village actually works. If you are a farmer and your neighbor is a shoemaker and you need shoes today, you do not haggle with a chicken. Your neighbor just gives you the shoes, and you both quietly remember. He knows that when his roof leaks or his harvest fails, you will be there. You owe him. Not in coins, in something older, in debt and memory and trust. That is what came before money, not trade. Debt. The oldest economies were not markets full of strangers bargaining. They were webs of people keeping track, in their heads, of who had helped whom. I owe you one. I'll get you next time. The entire village running on remembered favors. And that is the real thing money was born to do, not to replace the chicken, to replace the memory, because a village can remember its debts, but a city cannot. A kingdom cannot. Once you have thousands of strangers who will never see each other again, you cannot run the world on. I'll get you next time. You need to write the debt down. You need to make trust into a number. And that is exactly where the first money appears, not as coins, as accounting. Over 5,000 years ago, in ancient Mesopotamia, in the temples of Sumer, the scribes were pressing marks into wet clay to record debts. So many measures of barley owed, so much silver owed to the temple. They even had a standard unit to count it all in, called the shekel. And here is the crucial part. For centuries, the shekel was not a coin you could hold. It was a unit, a number. A way of writing down who owed what. The first money was not a thing at all. It was a record of a promise. Coins came much later. Around 2,600 years ago, in a kingdom called Lydia, they took lumps of a natural gold and silver alloy and stamped them with an official mark, a king's seal guaranteeing the weight and the worth. Now the promise was not trapped in a clay tablet in one temple. It was in your hand, portable, anonymous. You could hand it to a total stranger, and they would trust the stamp even if they did not trust you. Coins did not invent money. They made the promise travel. And once the promise could travel, it never stopped getting lighter. About 1,000 years ago, in Song Dynasty China, merchants grew tired of hauling heavy strings of metal coins across the country. So they left the coins with a trusted house and carried a piece of paper instead, a note that said, "This can be redeemed for real money elsewhere." The government took over the idea, and printed the world's first paper money. Think about what just happened. The money became a promise about a promise printed on a slip of paper, and it kept going. The paper stopped being backed by gold and became backed by nothing but a government's word. And then even the paper started to vanish. Today, most of the money in the world is not printed or minted or stored in any vault. It is numbers in databases moving between screens. Money has spent 5,000 years becoming less and less of a thing and more of a pure idea. So, who invented money? The honest answer is nobody. And also everybody. There was no genius who woke up one morning and thought it up. Money was never a single invention. It was a slow, collective act of imagination built up over thousands of years by everyone out of the one thing humans do better than any other creature. We believe things together because that is all money has ever really been. Not gold, not paper, not chickens. A shared story so powerful that billions of strangers who will never meet will hand over their food, their labor, and years of their lives for a token or a coin or a flicker on a screen. Not because the token is valuable, but because they trust that everyone else believes in it too. Money is trust made countable, a promise the whole species agreed to keep, and it only works for as long as we keep believing it. The moment we all stopped, the paper in your wallet would become paper again. The numbers would become nothing. So the next time you hold a piece of money, understand what you are actually holding. Not wealth. A story. The most successful story we ever told. And you, just by trusting it, are one of the millions of authors still writing it every single day.